With no mainstream scientific studies to support her views, McCarthy's influence is a real puzzle for scientists like Dr. Paul Offit, a pediatrician at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and a world-renowned expert on vaccines.
You'd like to believe that when people are trying to figure out, in this case, whether vaccines cause autism or what causes autism, they would turn to autism experts, not to celebrities, to figure that out.
Dr. Offit entered the fray almost as soon as it began, speaking out on behalf of vaccine safety in the United States.
You have now studies looking at hundreds and hundreds of thousands of children who did or did not get the MMR vaccine, and the results were clear. MMR didn't cause autism.
But statements like that have come with a price.
You have been called some horrible things. They have called you a baby killer. They've said you have blood on your hands.
It's been pretty brutal, but odd as this may seem, it doesn't bother me that much. I mean, I do think that
it has to bother you a little because you got into medicine to help people.
And I do help people.
I know, but people are accusing you of doing the opposite.
But they're wrong. And I think if they knew me, they wouldn't feel that way.
To many of Dr. Wakefield's supporters and those who believe vaccines hold hidden dangers, Dr. Paul Offit is public enemy number one.
You have had threats made against you, legitimate threats.
That's right.
One threat was deemed credible enough that the FBI required Dr. Offit to have a bodyguard. Another time, an anonymous caller threatened his children.
He gave my children's names and said where they went to school, and then he hung up.
And the message being that if I know where they go to school, they're within my access.
That's right, and that was the one time actually that I considered stopping all this.
Dr. Offit is a target, not just for supporting vaccine safety, but because he himself made millions of dollars for inventing a vaccine, Rototech, given to children to prevent a serious form of diarrhea.
Some of the people who believe Dr. Wakefield look at you and they say, okay, wait a second, let's dissect Paul Offit for a second. They say, here's a guy who created a vaccine. So, of course, he's not going to say anything that would call into question other vaccines. It's just against his DNA.
Well, first of all, I have called into question other vaccines. When the United States wanted to move forward on a smallpox vaccine program, I was still a voting member of the Advisory Committee of Immunization Practices. I voted against that because I thought it was a bad move.
So you don't think you have any conflict of interest here as a guy who created a vaccine, as someone who would be seen as not wanting to speak out against this particular vaccine?
Of course not. I think the fact that I worked for 25 years to create a vaccine that has the capacity to save 2,000 lives a day, what motivated me to do that, and the reward from doing that was of course not financial. My interest is in trying to represent the science of vaccine safety so that parents can understand it, so they won't make bad decisions that put their children at risk.